it's a journey. So hopefully we'll get there sooner rather than later.
Welcome to the BioNexus Health Podcast with Dr. Jodi A. Darshaw, who holds a PhD in Integrative Medicine, a doctorate in OT, specializing in neurology, is board certified in Integrative Pediatrics, an internationally recognized pioneering clinician, registered herbalist with the American Herbalist Guild, and author. Her naturopathic journey began when her son, who was diagnosed with autism, developed a series of traumatic, life-threatening chronic health issues. For over a decade, she's honed her skills to combine the ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with Western herbal medicine that has helped patients in over 50 countries and recovered her son, who is on his own journey towards becoming a physician. And now here's your host of BioNexus Health Podcast, Dr. Jodi A. Darshaw.
Welcome to another episode of BioNexus Health Podcast series, where we discuss the benefits of naturopathic, plant-based herbal treatment options for chronic illness. A family who has agreed to speak with us about their journey with mold biotoxin illness or chronic inflammatory response syndrome and natural plant-based herbal medicine. So let's get started. What made you decide to explore plant-based medicine?
Sure. We had symptoms of allergy. I had it, and one of my older daughters had a little bit of that. Basically, we saw that we had allergic response. We saw that we had an allergic response when we were in the house and away from the house. There was, we didn't see it. I did some more research. I thought maybe it's mold related, but we couldn't find the mold as much. But we thought it was mold, could be mold. And then I saw some mold in some parts of the house. Tried to clean it up. It's still the allergic response was there. I started doing more research, came across Dr. Shoemaker's research, and it seemed like he had done a ton of work on it. And I was looking for somebody who could maybe use that and other such protocols to help us. And there was a variety of choices of doctors, and given that we had our daughter was about 13 at that time, we thought we'd start off with a natural plant-based approach as a preference to see if we could, heal and figure out a way to get out of it. That's how we got started, and that's how we sought you out.
Can you describe each member of your family, if I may ask, can you describe the symptoms prior to starting the herbal protocol?
Yeah, so I think I was I had eye itching. Itching of eyes was a very key indicator for me, and that kind of told me that I was having an allergic response. I had it at that point for about 4 years, on and off, and that was an indicator for me. Then I saw that occasionally my older daughter had the same problem. Arya, you had the same problem?
Yeah.
Yes. And my younger one had this, some very, not as much, but occasionally same problem. So there was common symptoms. So there's that one. Then I think for me, frequent urination was another one. I think some of us had that also. And then I think for Arya.
For me, it was going to the bathroom often, pain in my feet and legs. It was really painful to walk. Same thing, the eye itch, and just like brain fog all the time. I couldn't remember things, and I noticed that my vocabulary had really suffered. I could not get words that I wanted to use. I still don't. I had a hard time remembering words.
And my older daughter, I think she had a little bit of weight gain and hair loss,
And also, she couldn't breathe when she went. She used to skate, and after the skating session, what was normal, it was very difficult to breathe. We had to go see a doctor who told us maybe she has high cholesterol. That is why it's happening. But that was alarming for us.
Let's move on to other systems, right? What about neurological and any kind of neuropathy, and any kind of irrational anger, irritability? Sorry, go ahead.
Yes, all of those.
Yeah.
Especially in my fingertips get numb, and I've now become very sensitive to cold things and hot things.
And I think irritability, we're all
Yes.
irritable, slightly more on the edge.
Yes.
Yeah, small things would irritate us.
How about any kind of hormonal issues?
Hormonal means, for
like skipped periods. Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
They were just erratic.
Okay. So all of these symptoms for how long before I first saw you?
Different symptoms had they were going on for varying lengths of time.
a year and a half. 2 years.
Yeah, no, the leg and foot problem was since 2016.
Yes.
Yeah.
So between,
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah.
so 1 to 3 years.
Yeah.
Okay, so between 1 and 3 years, all of the symptoms that you just mentioned. Sorry.
Including our daughter's hair fall, that is the time it started, 2016. Initially, it was mild, where it's hardly noticeable. It's just when she'll have a hair bath or when I was combing her hair, I saw that there was more hair falling.
Okay. Any complaints of sleep troubles or any kind of being tired, fatigue?
Yes. For me, I used to feel very tired. I would drop them off to school and I had no energy, no motivation to do anything. I would just come and sleep.
Okay.
It was just hard to do anything.
Okay. So let's talk about the labs that we did and what showed up. So all in all, what showed up was Lyme disease, other co-infections, along with mold biotoxin illness, right? There was pretty obvious mold exposure, which is what you guys found, and you started remediation. But were you surprised to see that there were other things going on as well?
Yeah, I was. Many things did not make sense before, and then I was surprised with the Lyme and the toxins. I thought it's just simple mold.
Right.
Yeah, I think we thought once if we just eliminate the mold, it should be
everything
gone.
Goes away.
I think what we were surprised by from our research, from our discussion with you, was it gets more complicated than that. That there's pathways that get triggered, and you need to heal various things to bring it back to normal.
Right. So that's what I like to tell everyone is one needs to investigate all triggers that can cause inflammation in the body, right? So for you guys, I believe we investigated tick-borne infections, which showed up as positive. We investigated industrial toxins, right? We looked at glyphosate as well. We looked at heavy metals, I believe, right? If I'm not mistaken. Right. And each of you had many triggers actually with yourself, Dad, you were the one who had minimal symptoms, right?
Yeah, I just had IH, that's all. Others, of course, I'm irritable and all that, but not as much as she has.
Right.
Because I was at home all the time, so
right.
I had the maximum symptoms.
Okay. So we started with remediation. There is one thing that I wanted to also talk about is it's not always possible for people to immediately pack their bags and leave and find a safe space so that they can start their treatments. One thing in common is what I've found with people that come to me is, can we do something even though we are still living in the mold? We are aware, we are carrying out remediation, can we get started? So I believe that's what we did with you, as I do with other patients as well. We actually got started on a full comprehensive protocol. We did labs, we investigated, and we customized the protocol to each one of your family members. And while remediation was going on, while you were still living in that house, you started to see improvements already, didn't you?
Yes, we did. Yeah.
Okay.
I think going to bathroom.
Yeah, that was the first improvement. No frequent trips to the bathroom.
Yeah. And then there was less, for me, less eye itching than before. And then
improved energy.
Yeah, improved energy.
Yeah, regular periods.
Oh, excellent. Okay.
So things did improve, but
the first thing was, I think, the frequent bathroom breaks. And
so we saw improvements, but still, obviously, it was not healed completely.
Right. Yeah. So you have been treating and remediating the house for, step by step, because you also have, you had symptoms, you had to go to work, you had children to manage. So based on all of those limitations, and then there was the pandemic that happened. So
the pandemic ironically forced all of us to stay at home, which increased exposure for those of us who didn't weren't in home all the time. But that's part of the reason when we started to remediate at a certain point, we decided we should just stay out of the house.
Okay. For your 13-year-old, what symptoms improved while still living in under construction, so to speak?
I think frequent bathroom. The only thing she had is frequent bathroom.
I itched it.
Okay, I itch.
You've just left the old house with the mold problems, and you recently moved into cleaner space, right? So what improvements did you see in your older daughter, with respect to mood and energy and breathing? And if you could highlight those for us, please.
I think for her, the main thing is no eye itch. The symptoms are gone, those symptoms. In terms of the other things, I think, is she more energetic now than
slightly more energetic,
slightly more energetic. We don't know if the hair loss has improved or not. The weight issues at least stabilized, if not improved. I think she's a little more focused than before.
Yes, definitely.
Although that still needs improvement. And I think those are some things we're starting to see. I think it's easier to get rid of the symptoms and the initial things, but the long-term effects of some of these, they probably take a little more time.
Yeah, they do. She had concentration issues, memory issues, not up to par performance in academic testing as well. Any change in that?
So her performance deteriorated, I would think, after sometime coming into, I think,
in 2019, 20.
So 19 starting, things started to go down. 18, 19, 20 was not great. I think she's improving somewhat in the last few months.
Okay.
Again, it's a journey, so hopefully we'll get there sooner rather than later.
Yes. Yeah. It's, with everything that showed up in the labs, as well as what you were already aware visually, what you saw, the different areas of mold exposure at the old house. So I think, yes, it takes a while to get better. I remember with my son, it took about 2.5 years to get rid of most of the symptoms, to recover from brain fog, to see significant cognitive gains. It took about 2.5 years. And I know we have discussed the cortical damage that is seen with mold exposure, right? Especially long-term mold exposure. So, okay. Anything else you have to add? Do you feel you are on the right path to healing?
I think so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think we do. It is frustrating that it takes time,
Yeah.
but it is, it has been positive, and hopefully we'll keep improving.
Good. I'm glad. People in the beginning think it's an allergy, so hopefully, we can pop a couple pills and we'll be fine. But it's quite challenging to find all of the other deeper issues that often come up once you start investigating mold biotoxin illness. So, good. Well, can you sum this up for me?
Sure. I think before we were, we had a bunch of symptoms, including whether it's IH, whether it's going to bathrooms, irritability,
Brain fog.
brain decline in, brain functioning, brain fog, especially for the older daughter and for her. And then I think what we've seen now is stabilization. So things are not declining. And that was the first thing we saw, improvements in certain things, whether it's the symptoms. I think the symptoms are the easiest thing to change because they change, go and come back quickly depending on the exposure. But then the things further down the path, obviously we're improving now in the cognitive part, and then I think the other things have stabilized or improved. So I would say we are, hopefully on the right path to within the next couple of years to getting to where we should be.
Thank you so very much for being with us here today.
Thank you for joining Master Herbalist Dr. Jodi A. Dashaw, Director of the BioNexus Health Clinic and BioNexus Herbals, on the BioNexus Health Podcast, where we explore and share information and stories about recovering and healing from chronic and environmental illnesses such as mold biotoxin illness, Lyme disease, autism spectrum disorder, fatigue, Crohn's and colitis, mast cell activation syndrome, PANS, and more. Please help us grow our message by subscribing to our podcast channel and sharing the podcast on your social networks. For more information, visit bionexushealth.com.
Information within this video, audio, or text, collectively known as the podcast, has not been reviewed by the FDA. Nothing within the podcast is intended as or should be construed as medical advice. Information is for general informational and educational purposes only. Consumers of the podcast should consult with their healthcare practitioners for medical recommendations. Seek the advice of a qualified healthcare provider. Do not disregard the advice of a healthcare provider based on any information from the podcast. The information within the podcast may contain information concerning dietary supplements or over-the-counter products that are not drugs. Our dietary supplement products are not intended for use as a means to cure, treat, prevent, diagnose, or mitigate any disease or other medical or abnormal condition.